Hello there guys, and welcome back to that channel. Right, so recently we have been getting more and more content for Thronebreaker players exclusively. In addition to that, July 4th is coming and everybody wants to be Thronebreaker in order to get the best bang for your buck. And with all of the increased amount of content that Thronebreakers have been getting, we also have seen significant increase in complaints directed towards Kabam and Thronebreaker players themselves for not being from Cavalier players for not being able to participate in that piece of content. Now, before we get into the helpful bit, I wanted to address some of my personal opinions that I personally have about the Thronebreaker requirements and current meaning, status of Thronebreaker in the game, I suppose. And first things first, I do not take any complaints anymore seriously from Cavalier players complaining that they do not have access to content. The reason for that was because initially, when Thronebreaker was introduced, it was really hard to become Thronebreaker. It was largely dependent on whether you have spent on the game and whether you have gotten lucky in the game. However, a year later, the situation is drastically different. And if you are not Thronebreaker today, that by definition means that you have a ton of content to do. Now, you might not love all of that content, but you don't need to do all of that content. You just need to do some parts of it, as I'm going to prove in this video. And the entire point is that I don't understand why people are complaining about not receiving new content when there is a ton of content to do. And right now, I look at the Thronebreaker requirement much more as I would look at a driving license or reaching age of majority. Where nothing necessarily drastically changes in your ability to play the game, but those are the rules. They exist there for a reason or another. I don't think that the world would explode if a 17-year-old would be able to purchase some beer, but clearly there are reasons behind the idea of age of majority. I don't think that the world would end if driving licenses wouldn't be a thing necessarily, but we sure shit would have a lot bigger mess on the streets. And the same situation is here, more or less, to a degree. And that's why, rather than venting and ranting, I have chosen to try my best and help to as many Cavalier players to become Thronebreaker as I possibly can. Because a couple days ago, actually, I had a nice conversation on stream with a Cavalier player, where I did manage to change his mind, and he left the stream determined to become Thronebreaker, because together we had figured out a plan for how he will get it done. And that is the entire point of this video. In this video, I will help you, if you are a Cavalier player, figure out how you can become Thronebreaker as effectively as possible. So we do have here a second sheet that's specifically designed for each and every single one of you, and you will have access to it, and you will be able to modify based on your current situation, and you will be able to figure out what you need to do to become Thronebreaker. But first, we need to go over all of these initial parts. So I have listed all of the tier 5 CC that currently is in-game in permanent piece of content, and it turns out that we have 7.75 tier 5 CCs in between Act 6, Abyss, Act 7, variants, and everything else. Then obviously we do have a whole bunch more of additional source of tier 5 CC, like AQ Map 7, if you play Epic modifiers, guarantees you 10% tier 5 CC every 8 days. Now, New Alliance War rewards, so long as you place in Gold 3 or higher, guarantees you 10% tier 5 CC every 6 weeks, up to significantly more, as we can see the rewards here. Even Gold 1 is already 30%, Plat 3 gives you 50%, Plat 2 gives you 60%, so you can see that that is a significant chunk of tier 5 CC, so perhaps some people should rethink their attitude on Alliance War if you want to become Thronebreaker as early as possible. And then we obviously have EQ and side event, where in Cav EQ we have 10% Nexus Crystal, and we have 10 to 20% every month in random crystals, somewhere in side events, solo objectives or something. So, in completion, and this table reflects all the tier 5 CC you can earn just by completing piece of content. And completing is significantly easier and quicker. And this is where everybody kind of looks at initially, and this is the argument that everybody likes to use. I have completed Act 6, I have completed Act 7.1, and I'm still not Thronebreaker. How come I have done everything? No, if you have just completed any piece of content, you have barely nibbled at it. In essence, you have done jack shit of it. You have done the smallest amount of possible to get any rewards from that piece of content. That's why, as we can see, that perfectly explains the idea that completing content is not enough, because you can have 1.75% TF5 class catalysts by completing content. You can have 6 catalysts by exploring it. Therefore, whenever anybody tells you that I have completed everything and I'm not Thronebreaker or something of the sort, you should simply look at them and ask whether they have explored it. Anyways, you can earn up to 1.75 TF5 CC there. The number one being Abyss, and that is the most straightforward thing to do. Abyss really is not as hard as many people build it up to be. At the very least, it is definitely something that you can just bite your tongue and do once. Do 2 fights a day. Grind Arena for a month and do 2 fights a day. You can do Abyss, 100%. You don't need to have all the horsemen, and that is by far the most quick and effective way how to become Thronebreaker. Then we have Act 6. Completion gives you 25% selector, and 7.1, 7.2 each give 25% selectors. But then we have all the content that you can explore and get significantly more TF5 class catalysts. Abyss obviously is not going to be your way you become Thronebreaker. Nobody is going to explore Abyss, because in order to explore Abyss, you would have to complete it first, and that already would enable you to become Thronebreaker. But still, there are 2 catalysts there. Then we have variants 5, 6, and 7 that give 25% each. Then we have 6.1, 2, 3, and 4 that also give 25% each. Then we have Act 6 that gives 1 fully formed catalyst. Then we have 7.1 and 7.2 that give 25% selector and 25 or 50% random TF5 CC respectively. And then there are also some significant offers, and I have highlighted only a handful of them, because really only these 2 matter. Only these 2 offers matter, because the 6.4 offer is awful. This is an example of what kind of offers you should avoid for. 12,000 units for 3 10% random crystals. Don't use your units there. You can get significantly more for significantly less later on. That's why it's colored in red. Avoid that offer. However, right here, completing 7.1 and 7.2 gives you 15% selector and 20% selector for 3,500 units. And these can play a key role in making a lot of people Thronebreakers really quickly. These are very, very, very valuable offers. And if you have not completed 7.1 or 7.2 yet, my personal advice is to grind Arena for 3 to 4 weeks. In that amount of time, you can definitely get 3,500 units. 100%. You don't even need to do all the milestones in every arena to get that done. Take arena grind seriously for 1 month. You will be able to grind more than an Odin. And you can get these guaranteed selectors. Do not squander them. Do not rush through content. That's why planning is important. That's why not always everybody needs to rush through a piece of content. Because if becoming Thronebreaker is your key goal and number 1 priority right now, then these 2 offers could potentially hold the key, being able to do the fastest and the best way possible. Right, so in the bottom, I wrote 3 simple scenarios, assuming that you have 0 TF5 CC from any source. Assuming that you have woken up from coma, you have significant roster or something, but you have not earned any TF5 CC in any monthly events, in any quests, in any offers, nothing. How can you become Thronebreaker? Well, number 1, as I mentioned before, is very simple. Get Abyss done. There are tons of guides on this channel. There are tons of guides on plenty of other channels. You do not need to have a gun and perfect answers for every fight. You can do it without having a single horseman for a reasonable amount of cost. You just need to know what you're doing. There are a ton of guides on my channel specifically as well, how you can get it done in the most effective way possible. Then scenario number 2 is complete Act 6, which is something that you have to do anyways, because you need to defeat the Grandmaster. And then just go on and explore 7.1 and 7.2. If you explore 7.1 and 7.2, that in itself will have given you 75% tier 5 class catalyst selectors, which pretty much would be enough to make you Thronebreaker, because you will likely have opened any of these 25% crystals previously. But even if it isn't, by purchasing the completion offers on 7.1 and 7.2 and exploring 7.1 and 7.2, you guarantee yourself 110% total amount of tier 5 CC selectors, plus 75% random tier 5 CC fragments. And that alone guarantees you become Thronebreaker. So assuming that you are at a level that is able to play Act 7, within 2 months, you can become Thronebreaker from right now. Grind the units for 1 month, complete 7.1, purchase the bundle, explore 7.1, whilst grinding the second month for another 3,500 units, complete 7.2, purchase the offer, explore 7.2, you're Thronebreaker. Done. 2 months of unit grinding and a guarantee of becoming Thronebreaker. And the last one is everybody's least favorite, Explore Act 6. Explore Act 6, you get a fully formed tier 5 CC catalyst, you get a 25% selector, and another 4 25% random crystals. But obviously, nobody really wants to do that because Act 6 sucks. But assuming that you have 0 tier 5 CC, this could be one of the more effective ways. Right. Now then, let's jump to the real serious stuff. This is your road to the Thronebreaker. And read the first line. Only adjust the green cell values. And let me demonstrate. So, here you are meant to write in how many shards you have of each class catalysts. Oh, so 1 second, let me just fill this up. So you write in whatever amount of catalyst shards you have yourself right now. So here we go. And here it also shows you how many more percent of a catalyst you need. Basically, it shows you how much percentage of a tier 5 CC you have in each class. Then it shows you how many fragments are needed to form a catalyst. And then it does it in percentage value, because that is how all the tier 5 CC is available out there, and it might be easier for you to find it. But in this case, we can see that Science Catalyst has the lowest amount needed. It should be 7,000 shards, and it is 15.6%. So in which case, we can see that purchasing 7.2 completion offer would make you Thronebreaker. So these 3 tables are exactly the same as you saw them before, but they have a little section added to them. And that is for you to keep track of your progress. So if you type in yes, for instance, to 7.1, well, you're going to have to type in yes for Act 6 first. It's going to color in the entire row for you. So you can see that whatever you have done is going to be in black, so you can only focus on whatever sections remain for you to do. So assuming that you have completed Act 6, you haven't explored, sorry, you haven't completed 7.1, 7.2, and Abyss. It asks whether you have purchased any of these offers, because they could potentially still be available. And here is the same thing. If you type in, for instance, if you have explored variant 5, it's going to color it in, so you do realize immediately which piece of content you haven't done. And then, well, it's quite easy. You can see how much tier 5 CC you need, and then you can take a look at the table and find the places where you can acquire it. Selectors are highlighted in bold specifically on purpose. Actually, I need to change this one thing. selectors were highlighted on bold there specifically on purpose because they guarantee a result. There we go. Because, yes, in this case, for instance, if you have 38,000 science D5CC fragments and you are determined to become Thronebreaker right now, then you just find where do you have 25% selector, 7.1 exploration. Cool. So you know that you need to do 7.1 exploration and you guarantee yourself the Thronebreaker title, basically. That is the idea behind it, and I figured that laying it all out, black on white or black on green anyways, might be helpful for a whole lot of you. Because I think that a lot of people are kind of just going through the motions and are waiting for something to happen without realizing that they can actively work to make something happen. Additionally, people who otherwise would be willing to work for it in this large of a game can get confused. So that is the purpose of this sheet, is to lessen your confusion and for you to be able to find your way of becoming Thronebreaker. Realizing where you stand right now, realizing how much you need to get done, and then putting that into the context of content. Now I have mumbled enough. As I said, I will make this spreadsheet available for everybody. And hopefully, some of you will find it useful. See ya. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information